Hi. What is important? When I zoom out from my immediate concerns, what is truly important? Many things, I presume. My health, my children, climate change, social justice, and so on. Many other things are not important, that some driver cuts in front of me on my way to work, or that my wife leaves her laundry on the bathroom floor, for example. If you're like me, you sometimes behave as if some things are important that really aren't. There are two main strategies to deal with this predicament. One is to become more efficient at living your values and your priorities. That's fine if you are completely clear on what those values and priorities are. The other strategy is to seriously consider what you hold to be important. Psychologists and life coaches and others offer many tools for helping us to improve our efficiency. To some extent, they can also probe us for our values. But the academic discipline that has been grappling with the question of importance for over 2 millennia is, of course, philosophy. Questions such as, what is a good life? And what are my moral obligations? Have been pondered and answered by philosophers again and again, creating a treasure of possible answers. Not just philosophers, but many other people, of course, are eager to answer questions around morality and the good life. Priests and some brave politicians, for example. But what is particular to philosophy is that questions are not just answered. They are analyzed, criticized, they are thrown out in favor of other questions, and then taken back in another form, and so on. And answers, too, aren't just given. They are thoroughly scrutinized, they're argued for, they're argued against, and they're modified. And then they're evaluated for the truth they contain, and not just for their potential to persuade. So, take my initial starting question, for example. What is important? That question can be analyzed into two different questions. One is, what is important for me? Another question is, what is important for the world? In other words, one thing is, what is important for you? Another question is, what is important according to you? It may be that one of the things that are important for you is to contribute something of importance to the world. But you may also believe that some things are important for the world, even if you don't want to be personally involved with them. So the two questions are different. I find this division of the one fundamental question about importance into two different questions quite significant. I think we often confuse the two questions, and that this can prevent us from finding our core values. I think we may say things like, for example, I like my hobby, but of course it's not truly that important. But what we might mean then is that the hobby is not important for the world, even though it is important for us. The value that we ascribe to our personal projects is out of proportion from the perspective of the world. But that does not mean that we're mistaken. The value that I ascribe to the well-being of my children is also out of proportion from the perspective of the world. It is more important for me that my own 2 children live good lives than that 3 other children that I don't know live good lives. But not so for the world, I don't think. So we can correctly ascribe value to things for ourselves, I believe, while at the same time acknowledging that this value I'm ascribing is out of proportion from a global, impersonal perspective. So much for the questions. About answers to these questions of importance, they come in different forms. Some answers point to the achievement of outcomes, such as for me that I am happy, that I'm successful. And other answers point to the way we achieve these outcomes or the attitude we have towards them. So, for example, you might value your success higher if you achieve it while being fair to other people, or if you achieve it by making the most out of difficult circumstances, as we've heard about earlier today. Or if you achieve your success with humility. It's one thing to have a good life. It's another thing to live life well. So, how do we answer these questions, the me question and the world question? We can take me as an example. For me, it's important that my children are happy and that they grow up into responsible adults, that I am free, that I'm not in pain, that I respect other people as well as nature, that I make the most out of my opportunities to live an interesting and authentic life. When it comes to the world, what I believe is important is more about specifically outcomes. So I believe it's important that all human beings have enough resources to live a good life. And I believe it's important that the beauty and diversity of our planet is preserved and restored. What about you? What do you hold to be important? Let's think about that together. Let's take 10 seconds and think about this. So I invite you now to close your eyes and think about this question. What is important for you in your life? Go ahead. Okay. And then think about, what do you believe is important for the world at this point in history? Take 10 seconds with that question, with your eyes closed. Go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Open your eyes. Now, a way to proceed now would be to ask, so how do we fit these two answers together, the answer to the me question and the answer to the world question? We've really only just started this philosophical exploration of importance here. I believe more people could benefit from the open-minded and unconditional search for truth that philosophy is, especially when it comes to the question of what really matters. Because if you don't answer that question yourself, an answer will be provided for you from someone else. It could be your parents, your partner, your society. I'm involved in a research project now at Umeå University around the family and other close personal relationships. In this project, we investigate questions such as, how many parents should a child ideally have? As well as, is it a good idea to have children with the same person that you're also romantically involved with? Not many people ask themselves these questions, but I find that when you do, it really opens up quite interesting discussions. So I would like to see more people have that kind of discussion. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong, of course, with a two-parent family where the parents love each other. I actually happen to live in a family like that myself. But I am saying that we shouldn't take it for granted. And I'm also saying that whether or not that particular arrangement suits you will partly depend on what you hold to be important. So questions about importance have impact in all kinds of areas of your life. So I would encourage you to take the questions seriously. And if at some point along the road you find that you might need some professional help, you might want to go see a philosopher. Not all philosophers will welcome you, And not all philosophers will connect with you in a good way, unfortunately. But there are some. Some call themselves philosophical practitioners or philosophical counselors, and they will try their best, at least. Unfortunately, they are quite rare, especially in Sweden. So I think that philosophers should provide this service to society, not just by being educators and researchers in universities, but also their services as guides to people who are ready to explore this question about importance, as well as other moral and existential questions. And if philosophers in universities are not prepared to offer that service themselves, I think they should make sure to educate others who are. Thank you.